We thank you for that. Tonight, the primary purpose of this public hearing is to elicit comments and inputs regarding the ordinance 2012-08-01, an ordinance amending Appendix A, zoning of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Crawfordville, Georgia, to define the term animal shelter and provide for such uses, to repeal any laws in conflict therewith, and to establish effective on this date. And a while ago I did hand you out some. If you didn't get one, please pass them around because we're limited on how many that we have. We will have our public request on this, and our request needs to be on the ordinance that we have here today, that you see on the page 1 and page 2. And if you have anything that you would like to request, please come forward and state your name and your address. Now, who would like to come forward first? Ms. Jones?
My name is Mary Jones. I live at 198 Broad Street.
Come on up this way, because we have...
It has to be... Oh. My name is Mary Jones. I live at 198 Broad Street, Crawfordville, Georgia. I've lived at that address for 10 years. I want to make the comment that I support the change recommended in the new ordinance. It brings us into compliance with state law. We also will be submitting a petition to the City Council that was done prior to this amended ordinance being presented, which has 149 names of people who live in Crawfordville that also support the change to the ordinance. I would also like to put on the record that there are 2 other ordinances which we are circulating a petition about. We've got 67 names so far, and we anticipate having about 150 by next Tuesday. Thank you.
Next. Mr. Richards, if you'll come forward, please.
My name is George Richards. I live at 223 Jennings Street. One of the questions on this ordinance that I have is there's no mention of fostering. I want to know, if the animal shelter is under the state licensing, how does the foster individuals, where do they stand in terms of this ordinance? And the other thing I'd like to know is why Mr. Herman Milner is so opposed to working with the Helping Hands Humane Society.
Next. Is there any other public requests? Now is there time to say what you want to say?
My name is Cy Easters. I live at 381 Jennings Street in Crawfordville. And I just think that changing this ordinance to explain what an animal shelter is, it's a good thing, but then change the other thing. When we pay as much taxes as we pay in this city, and they want to tell us that we can't have but 4 animals, that is something that is not right. And if you're going to make a definition of an animal shelter, then go ahead and change the other ordinances that people can have their animals as long as they don't let them run the street and as long as they don't let them bark and carry on. I don't have 4 animals, but I don't want to keep anybody else from having them.
Thank you, Mr. Sy. Next.
I just want to say amen to what Mr. Sy just said. I agree with him.
Miss Beasley, you need to come up here, please.
Oh, you want me to get up?
Yes, everybody was asked to come up.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that, but chair was not provided, and I'm 76, so.
We have chairs up here in the front.
I'm Ruth Beasley. I live at 259 Alexandra Street. I have numerous pets that I care for. They've all had their rabies shot, everything that is required. They do not make noise and do not bother my neighbors. And I agree with what Mr. Sy said. The taxes. if your animals are not bothering anybody else, and there's no problem, I don't see why we should be limited, whether we can have 3 or 4 or 10.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley. Next,
Stephanie Stewart, 337 Sparta Road, and I want to say I support changing the ordinance that we have in front of us, but I also agree with Mr. Easters. We need to go ahead and deal with the other animal ordinances also.
thank you, ma'am. Next, Ms. Kendall.
My name is Sarah Kendall, I'm Richards. I live at 223 Jennings Street. I would like to applaud the city for changing this ordinance, or proposing to change this ordinance. It is a good thing for people of the city, both animal owners as well as people that live in the community. But I also have to say, and I realize you're not dealing with these other issues at this point, but it is my opinion that we definitely do need to look at these other animal ordinances and bring them in line with the type of community that we are.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, Paula, we have chairs up here if you want. Okay. Anybody else? Leslie, did you get a copy of this?
I did, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? This public request is now closed. And anybody from the board would like to make any comments or statements from the just now public request?
Yes, I will.
Mr. Stewart?
Under the ordinance under section 7.2 special exceptions, animal shelters must be licensed by state of Georgia and shall not be operated in such a manner as to violate any applicable local, state, or federal laws. Well, we have a local law ordinance that describes a kennel that this new ordinance on the Humane Society will actually violate, in my opinion, because the standing ordinance on kennel states any area that has over 4 animals. So here that comes back into effect. Another thing I want to bring up, at last city council meeting, I asked the mayor if the Humane Society being legal under this ordinance, if that would apply to fostering. He said it would not. He said the kennel laws would apply to fostering. In other words, if you had over 4 animals you were fostering, you were still classified as a kennel. So I think that section 7.2 special exceptions should be eliminated from this ordinance.
I'm sorry, Mary, the public request has already been closed. No, I'm sorry. Anything else, Mr. Stewart?
See if Dorsey has anything. Check.
Okay, Mr. Cooper, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Well, I think people should be able to foster dogs. And that under the kennel law that the city, under the zoning, that definition of a kennel is entirely wrong. It should be reworded to the state law that we have.
Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Stewart, did you have anything else you want
Yes,
to
I
bring up?
have a statement in the form of a question. Also, under number 3, it says all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed immediately. Does that mean that the kennel ordinance will be repealed immediately, since it is in conflict with that?
tell you on that.
Just for the record, I also want to read from state law 4-11-18. And you may see how this may apply as well, but I just want to put it on record. This article shall be cumulative and shall not prohibit enactment and enforcement of local ordinances by a municipal or county governing authority on this subject, which are not in conflict with this article, provided, however, that a municipal or county governing authority shall be required to provide timely written notice to the department of any enforcement action taken pursuant to such an ordinance against an operator licensed under this article who is alleged to be in violation of such local ordinance. The department shall be notified of the initiation of any such local enforcement action and of the final conclusions or ultimate outcome of any such action. I believe this citation to Mary, I believe this state law was not followed. I don't believe the state was notified. So that's the end of that comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Anything else from the board members? Mr. Cooper? Are you ready to vote on this, or approve, disapprove, or approve with changes?
I'd like to,
Is there a motion on the floor?
I would like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that Section 7.2 special exceptions be eliminated from the ordinance.
So in other words, what you're saying is approve with changes?
Yes. And the reason I believe that's in conflict with state law.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Wait.
Let's read what you don't want included, because I believe.
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin, we already had public requests. Mr. Martin, we are through with public requests. That was at the first.
I understand it, but you have to clarify what you got to follow the public rules of order.
We're doing what we can, okay?
And you ought to clarify exactly.
Mr. Martin, please. We take a poll, Mr. Tree.
Is there going to be any more added to it?
On this motion, I'd just like to make a comment that this does not carry the ordinance here. This motion, this ordinance would be approved, disapproved Tuesday at the City Council.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Stewart with approval, with changes, and a second by Mr. Cooper. Call the roll, please, clerk.
Ms. Young, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Cooper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
I need, first of all, the changes that you want in writing. And if there's any changes that Mr. Cooper would like to add to it, his needs to be in writing as well.
Okay, mine is very simple. Eliminate section 7.2 special exceptions.
Okay.
And he needs to do a motion for his also.
You ready for mine?
Pardon me?
You ready for mine?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
is your change, Mr. Cooper?
All right. Under the city zoning ordinance, the definition of a kindle is wrong. It should be changed to the state ordinance.
Let's make that a motion and we'll get you a second and we'll.
I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Will you poll the clerk, please?
Mr. Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Young, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Cooper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Is there any other comments or discussion from the board?
I have none.
Mr. Stewart?
No.
And this is only a recommendations for the city council, and whether they have this for Tuesday night, that will be up to them. I don't know what's on the agenda. Since it's this late in the month, it will probably go on over to October. So, since this is not our regular meeting, we don't have to go by having any minutes of the meeting from last meetings, and we don't have to have any approval or seconds for adjournment. I announce that this meeting is adjourned.